Hello and welcome to Tao Radio.
Thanks for joining us. This is Muna and
Lia,
and we're here to take you on a journey with us while we explore the great sounds, music, arts, and cultures from all around the world.
How will you tell your mother?
Welcome to Tao Radio. Today we welcome back a friend of the Tao Project, Ekiti Sound, the sonic storyteller, producer, and cultural bridge whose work folds the energies of Lagos and London into one vibrant, living mythology. Léke, the force behind Ekiti Sound, has long moved between worlds, between the ancestral and the digital, between folklore and future sound. His music is where Yoruba rhythms meet hip-hop cadence, where tradition converses with technology, and where folklore refuses to stand still. Across his albums, Abeg No Vex and Drum Money, he weaves a narrative that is at once deeply personal and profoundly collective. Stories of homecoming, survival, and the eternal drumbeat that connects generations. More than a musician, Léke is a cultural interpreter, a modern griot, translating the pulse of Lagos's streets, Yoruba spirituality, and global diasporic flow into something that is unmistakably his own. It's an honor to have him with us, an artist, collaborator, and friend whose sound continues to expand the Tao universe, reminding us that folklore is not fixed in the past, but alive, restless, and ever on the move. Welcome, Léke. It's so great to have you with us again.
Let my prayer be answered.
Thank you so much. What an absolutely enchanting welcome. Honestly, thank you so much. I feel very much at home, and I'm a friend of the show. Really made me think about my work in that brief but very explicit introduction. Thank you so much.
I wanted to let our listeners know that we've had an informal chat before. So I'm going to draw some inspiration from that as we start. In our earlier chat before this recording, your reflections on folklore and technology and the drum lingered with me. You described the drum as both home and heartbeat. The drum is where the money is, as you put it. Can we begin there? What does the drum mean to you today, in both sound and in story?
The drum being home is a context of, I guess, part of our slang. If you go for the rawness of the word, like the actual slang, when I was growing up, you go to that person's drum. In a literal London slang way, it was weird how this word took on different meanings for me. It's a drum in slang, London, my other home. The drum is such an integral part of traditions, our ceremonies. Earliest memories are going to be of drums at naming ceremonies, at funerals, drums at prayers, 4 different sorts of drums that sit integrally in our tradition. Different times they come out. So in the bridge of both things, what does the drum mean to me now? The first instrument, the way I understand maths, the way things make sense to me in terms of rhythm, syncopation, exercise. If I'm skipping, trying to lose a little bit of visceral fat, I'm counting in 3-step or in 4-step. It's so weird how it's sort of crept into different areas of my life to answer, what does it mean to me now, without sounding like, oh, it means the world to me. It's the anchor of my storytelling, of my production. I'm a drum programmer, and it's also what pulls out to me in a way when I hear the sonic soundscape of the world. Where's the rhythm? Where's the pulse? What's the beat?
Beautiful, and I love the word anchor. the rootedness of it, because that really ties into this conversation about folklore. And I've heard you often say that you love sound, maybe more than music. Can you tell us where that distinction lives in your work? What's the folklore of sound itself for you?
So interesting. The separation of sound and folklore. I hadn't actually thought of it that way. That's quite interesting. Why you got me? When I think of folklore, I think of defined moments like a drum, a song, a lyric, a melody, whereas sound is intangible, but it's there for me. The sonic of folklore for me is quite defined of what is perhaps entertainment for me as a sonic, and what is something that has carried on as a through line, as a thread of a story for me, whether the songs came before my time, whether they're music that I've contributed towards, or something that I'm just currently enjoying that somebody else is saying, which could be from folk music, country music, maybe rap music, but where somebody's anchored their truth into a tale and a time and a place, and I can relate or understand or empathize to what's going on. So that's why it sort of threw me off, because I was like, oh, I kind of deal with those two things in a slightly different way when I think of sound. And I guess for me, the sonic of folklore sits within the universe of a soundscape for me.
Can I ask then, so is it that sound is something sensational, sensorial, and that folklore is something about a lineage that reaches here and now? To try and kind of grasp, because there's lots that you're saying, so to try and sort of distill it into concept.
I think folklore feels to me more as a defined through line, whereas sound is more ambiguous. Sound is the canvas. Folklore is going to be what you're throwing onto it at that time.
Like sound can be abstract, and then
Yeah.
Road gives it a sort of narrative.
Exactly. And not to make it so A to B folklore narrative, but it's the sculpting of sound. Yes, I
It's
did
a
like a
meaning.
sculpture.
Meaning.
Thank you very much.
And this weaves beautifully into our next questions, which are really around that folklore and interpretation. So can we say that folklore is also a lens? Not only
Yes.
is it something inherited, but something that can be reinterpreted, maybe even recoded. And,
Totally agree with
and is
that.
that an activity that you do consciously or maybe unconsciously through your art?
I think unconsciously at first, until I understood the power of standing in an artist's own truth. Because I've been through different iterations of my artistic package, whether it's been Lil Chiff or Mischief Makers or the Clown Prince, still trying to perhaps find your voice, maybe experimenting with different people. But once you now, well, with Ekiti Sound, and I think I found my authentic voice, which came from a time prior to myself, and I found where I sat with that. When you talk about instruments like the bata or the talking drum, the dun-dun, those were telecommunication devices. You're going to have a guy every 15, every 10 miles, maybe every 5 miles, you're having a relay of sound it's conveying. So they're conveying perhaps enemies are coming, this is coming, that's coming. In the same way, I'm conveying messages to my people or to who's listening now. So I've taken the same instrument and maybe I sampled it, but it's still the same urgency, still trying to move it on to the next tribe down the line. That's how I see where I fit in. Regardless of the moment I'm in now, I have the benefit of being able to time travel and know that I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm passing on my modern day version of urgent, pertinent, or of emotional information, same as the troop before.
I see a line connecting that with Yoruba cosmology, where it says the drum speaks. It's both language and messenger.
Yeah.
Can we just touch quickly on something that you said of the drum as home? And that beat, it carries something of ancestry, but does it also carry an invocation? And what is that invocation to you?
Yes. It's interesting because it sits in two sort of ways. There's a specific drum that is ceremonial, for invocations, for orishas, for if you're going to be doing prayers, you are playing that drum. If you were in rural Nigeria at night and you hear the batter drum, you already know what's going to be happening as a ceremony. Especially if it's a certain time of year, it might be the new yam, it might be this, it might be, different. So it's an instrument that is assigned to a ceremonial occasion. Whereas, or alongside it, I believe that if you have music on 22 BPM, almost the tempo of somebody's heart. There's so many times we know how people are taken into a trance, literally trance music by that. It's so kind of easy for me to put them together. I feel bad trying to intellectualize it because it's so natural already. I didn't have to, I just had to be there. Then it's already doing it, is what I'm saying. They had house music back in the day in Africa already. That's fought to the floor. It was, so I'm literally piggybacking off an old school rave, playing the closing set of something that started way before my time, trying to get a mix in.
I'd like to drop us into another thread that runs through you, which is hip hop as modern lore. You've described hip hop as bardic, stories of the hood, of survival, of myth making. And in that sense, it does feel like a living folklore of our time. And how do you see hip hop storytelling connecting back to Yoruba oral traditions, to the griots, to the chanters, to the praise singers? If you can just give us some reflections on that.
Right from the Alagas, and Alaga is a Yoruba woman who presides over ceremonies. So marriage, funeral, naming ceremony. She's kind of like a master of ceremonies. Alaga. And she is literally mic controlling in Yoruba as it comes in, bringing the two families together. I used to be a wedding engineer. So I've done 100 weddings, seen them all model top and everything. So it doesn't feel like the master of ceremonies at a traditional Western wedding where you're trying to get the schedule moving along. Father the bride time, a little bit of jokes. No, she's a compere. She's an opera singer. She's a comedian. She's so many things. And she's folklore. She's the MC. She's the original Mike One. So when I look at that in Yoruba, that's already exists. Then you have your Fuji. You have your Asher, your people who just pray for you. You have when the boy is born and they come back, they're already rattling it off. I grew up with rhythmic speaking in my ears before I knew what rap was.
Heard of the Alaga before, and brings up a powerful image of female matriarchy, voice, and connection to community. And then I remembered the sound of the young boy in your music too. So I'm curious which voices in the folklore are actually mixed into your tracks that we can sort of identify and discover right now.
Great question. Alaga has been on all my albums. A lot of the Yoruba you hear on my records are praise worship songs. Look is what she's doing, the praise worship. So that's what she does on records like Song for Lara. So
that's giving praise.
That's giving praise. That's a song, it's like, God, you look after everything on top of my head, you look after my son, you do everything for the birds. A lot of what I put into my records are really old, traditional prayer songs, because even though they're on dance floors, I know that not everybody understands what she's saying. If I've got that much amplification and a chance with culture, what part do I share? The first thing we did is culture, love, identity, family for Ekiti Sound. For me, it was praise, it was worship, it was trying to send out messaging for Yoruba people who are just getting into dance as well. Because when I started, it wasn't this rave movement that we have now. If somebody's randomly hearing a house tune and then Yoruba randomly comes on and they feel like, oh, it's house. I like house. It's Yoruba. I'm Yoruba. What do I say to my brother or sister in that moment that somebody's finally repping them? I just somehow felt that I'm going to send you love. I'll send you a prayer. So that's why the Alaga's voice and the messaging really speak to what I'm saying with Ekiti sound.
Yeah, and a sacred kind of call.
Exactly. Something ritual made to let you know your ancestors have got your back. The sampling of folklore comes into play because somebody sung this song maybe 300 years ago and it's moved along across time. I've taken the parts that I want, but not just as a sample of a record. Now we're going to choose the parts and recreate it in a new digital method of electronic music that didn't even exist then, but the sentiment was there for them as it is for me now. I think that's an honest sort of way of looking at it. You know.
Go anywhere, never to go. I want to produce me. I want to go out Jadi Musa. Anywhere, never go. Balamu Motolani. Ejo, ego out Jadi Koloni. Hey, Ekiti sound. Ile shele, Musa. Ile shele.
And I'm sure that from there, Muna wants to jump into maybe questions around technology and new folklores and space and ways that the collective are gathering intelligence and information. Some wisdom is being honed there. But before we go down that path, I want to hold on the name Ekiti. To most people, it's a great sounding 3-syllable word. But what is it?
Ekiti is where I'm from. It's a state in Nigeria. It's where my father's from. My mother's from Lagos, which is the old capital, and my father is from Ekiti State. Mobaland, to be exact. And they're different Ekitis, and Ekitis are old people, and they don't give up easily. When I threw out the name Ekiti Sound, is when I realized how many Ekiti people are actually out there. They're like, where are you from, Ekiti? This, that. So in a way, I did want to have a beacon for people to know, hey, it's us who's doing this one. It's homegrown. Proclamation, amplification, do you know what I mean? I don't think there've been many drum and bass, house, electronica DJs hailing from there, but Sade's from there, actually.
No way.
Little small facts. There you go. So yeah. So we do from
herself.
I'll have to actually look at who else is doing it. I'm sure I got a couple comrades.
Amazing.
What I'm listening to is really so close to the concept of contemporary folklore and encoding those wisdoms into your work. I think that really merges the modern lore of hip hop with these Yoruba chants, which are also prophecies, they're wisdoms, they're praise, there may be also warnings as well. You brought Lagos and London, and this is something that for me as a third culture kid, and I know Lia as well, living between different landscape, places, identities, and cultures and merging them in our own selves and creative outputs is something that integral. For me, my fascination with folklore, it's trying to find the essence in those places, right?
Yes.
So you've lived, you've listened, you've created in both Lagos and London. So these two cities really pulse with folklores of their own.
Yeah.
How do you feel these geographies shape your sense of story, rhythm, and identity? Can you really give us a sense of your history here a little?
In terms of history-wise, as with most of us, there's a duality, two countries, this or that. When you're younger and you're creating, and it's that discovery, curiosity, not your own full tone of voice yet, then you speak, you shout with the crowd. You know what I mean? So it's really far more location dependent because you're trying to work it out. You're trying to fit in because this is what we're doing here. We do drum and bass here. We do this here. All the cultural references are that. We could go to a Notting Hill Carnival. As a youth movement, it's where you're dating. It's where you're hanging out. When you're into youth culture, you get swept in the youth wave at times because you're in the culture. You're part of the scene and you're learning how to be a participant, a collaborator. What do you like? So you have to be in it, ideally, I think, anyways, for the kind of records I make. But still, in that, I was definitely an anomaly. Even though I was like, yeah, I'm in London, I'm doing this, I would still try and make it syncopated, or I'll try and make it polyrhythmic. And everybody's like, no, we're staying on the 1 and the 2. And I'm like, what about the 4, the 6, the 8? What are we doing with those guys? Do you know what I mean? Like, that, we need to get it shaking. I love the fact that I can listen back to my earlier records, or I can watch videos that have been on Channel U when I was Mischief Makers, right there, East London, had a gang of man with me. That's what the modern drill kids are doing now. There's always been that hip hop street element. It's what has made me emboldened to say, I can do this, or I don't even speak as much Yoruba as you, but I'm going to do that. If I didn't have the hip hop bravado, I couldn't have done Ekiti sound. I'd been scared in a way, And I said, can I really? So, not to jump history, but I kind of had to, for me personally, go through the stages of hip hop, jazz, grime, house and garage, drum and bass, because I love sound. London is a melting pot of everything, a buffet. I can eat everything. I can try as much as I want. Not all kids want to eat everything, but you know what I mean.
Especially with music, there are standards. You have to lay your mark and claim your territory because of the traditions. At what point, and you've kind of alluded to it, but you said, at some point, I am allowed to claim these things. I'm allowed to work with these origin sources, even if I'm not 1000% one thing. So what was that journey? You talk about you finding your voice and seeing that this now is an expression of you. How did that process take place? How did you move into this space where you feel defined?
Learning to trust my collaborators. I'll be honest. I had a collaborator that I was working with, and I was moving back and forth. I mean, worked in Paris as well. I'd lived in New York, worked in New York as well. So I'd gone to the Mecca of hip hop. I like, cut your teeth, go to there, record there. Paris, this was before I did New York, which was the closest place where the level was like, okay, if you did it. But still, it wasn't ringing fully true. It wasn't connecting. It wasn't. And then as I said, I always asked, what's in the 4, the 6, and the 8? I've always wondered. So I've always made those records along the whole time still. And even my hip hop records still, you hear traces of it. I was still 4, 6, and 8 kind of kid. And one of my collaborators then, I put all those 4, 6, 8 tracks in a folder. All the stuff that's running in a folder that people usually say, that's what's running. The 4, 6, 8 stuff got the real genuine feedback. He could hear me in that folder. He said, the weird stuff is you. I remember somebody had, he was like, that's you. Somebody else had to tell me it's the truth. I couldn't see it. I couldn't hear it. And at times, I think maybe you just have to sort of trust the universe. Everything is taking me in this direction. I'm naturally doing this. What am I holding on to that I'm scared to let go of identity-wise before I grab onto something else? Because it's that swing, isn't it? Because you're in between two things, right? So if you let go of one and you don't catch the other, what if you just drop in the middle? So yeah, it is scary. I want both sides. They're definitely like, nah, fam, that's not it. I mean, people didn't get Ekiti sound in Nigeria when I first said it. Like, why aren't you making Afro beats? So even when you're on this side, people are still looking at you like, oh, this is cool. You come from London. Why don't you use that brain to go and, So you're still trying to say, I believe this is what I should be doing. This sound, just staying on the path. And then you end up on podcasts being asked questions like this, eh? I mean, I made it. To answer your question seriously, you have to be able to trust people. If you're not at this stage, I wasn't at this stage as an artist then to trust myself, which comes growth. I didn't know that. Somebody told me. And the thing about the truth, especially with something artistic, I kind of always knew because I kept going back making those records. So you kind of know, but you don't think anybody else is going to want to hear that 468 folder.
Yeah, you have to take it out and show it to people and say, believe in me. Even before anything's happening, give it your whole heart, right? Yeah.
In the shadows, chipping away at that, because that's the person who does the best in the light. The person who you're working away on when nobody's watching, when you're just, beside a mic, even like just always just sort of working, it might not be a rap record that's coming out, but you're thinking, polishing, shading. When you put it together, you have the confidence to say, not 10,000 hours, but I know what I sound like. It's not, I know when I'm being honest. That's my chest voice. Cool. That's a record that sits in this, you know?
And not to tie everything constantly and unnecessarily back to folklore, but just I wonder if there is a lore that is coming through you at that point. You know, the many lores that you've taken in find their way to express themselves when it's honest like that. Does that make sense? Maybe.
Yeah, it does totally make sense. It tripped me out because there's a new record we've been working on, and the first line is pretty much, I am the law. Literally.
I love that.
Yeah,
What is
it's kind of the law of what people say isn't, with a bit of discipline, with a little bit of discomfort, to things where you'll straighten out, where you are the proof of, you know, that kid, he said he was going to do that, and he did that, that happened. You become, you know what I mean? You don't have to be physically there for people to feel your truth. That's what I feel is like the law. When you say, I am the law, it's like me, it's in the air. If you want to be that, listen to it. Your brother is that. You know, that's why I made the first record so much at home. As in, forget all of that Westminster. We did it laptop right here, small generator. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's this. Yes, it's that. These are our laws, I think I'm sort of telling. You know, in a way that, yeah, let's do things that they didn't expect us to do. They didn't think we could with what we had. When he said, you see what he did? Did you know he could? That's the law. More than he was dripped in this or dripped in that. It's like, he really did do that far?
Yeah.
So that's really, the sort of law I feel sort of passionate slightly about, challenging myself in my work now, not to show off to people, but I come from hip hop. I come from playing basketball. When guys are trying to dunk on each other, but we're still friends. We lift each other up, steel sharpens steel. There's something in the air now, perhaps, where we don't want to be challenged in a way, whether intellectually or in a debate or visually or artistically. I like to do challenging work. How do you build the muscles to present work that will be challenging, not just to your peers, but to your audience and new fans? So I think those are the things that sort of drive me to say, this is the law that I want to be about. When people are like, we did the Surround album and it made sense with all the talking drums, it can be done. When people say, you want to do Nigerian Yoruba music with a string orchestra, I'm like, get 40 talking drums, get 60 bata. What does that sound like? The African symphonic drum polyrhythmic, or like, that's the law I would like to leave behind.
Impact.
There's something very beautiful there because, in a way, my interest in contemporary folklore, and I know Lia holds some of the same vibrations there, is that there is an intentional folklore building at play. And it's kind of like with Ekiti sound, it's like building a house of sound with these very open and expansive pillars of love, identity, family, Yoruba, folklore, and history and wisdoms. And it's a place where others can belong, because it's a place of your belonging.
It's also the law of you can be you where you are. Constant energy. And that's the piece I think us as the in-betweeners, Lagos, London, New York, wherever, Abuja, Spain, London, Greece, London, where like you can get caught and you love both sides, but there comes this nice time when you're just, okay, yeah, this is my tempo everywhere I'm moving through this thing. And that's what I like to share with people as well. Like, don't switch it up too much. Just, enjoy both your parts.
I find that really moving. I just want to share that for me is a really beautiful concept, that it's touched me, because maybe you feel like you have to choose or it's awkward, but actually there's also a time where you don't let go of anything you find precious, and you just love everything that you love.
I encountered the word dissonance or mental dissonance very late in my life, apart from knowing that it's something I'd been experiencing for so long. Do you know what I mean? The dichotomy of being a hip hop kid, but then maybe they say, most African kids, you're meant to be a lawyer, a doctor. The duality of not being the box that people think, if you're too, at least be in this box. It's like, so the dissonance is pick one, why? Merge them, shed what's not useful so I hold what's me. Because a lot of the things is baggage from either side. So what can I really carry? And that's like what I say, on Drum Money, on the final verse, like I'm saying to people, you want my baggage? I hold it. I'm good holding mine. That's what I'm trying to say to them. Hold yours, because the baggage you want to carry is really your personal baggage. That's cool. It's always good to carry that. You know what I mean? It's what you've loaded up. It's your shit. Other shit,
Don't
just drop them off. Just find a way, at least creatively. That's how I found peace in my work. Like, where do we sit? Where I'm Léke everywhere.
Now listen.
Pussy please, pussy try to push a problem. Pon the podium, pon the pundit, pon the summit. Who is talking to the people? Pon the pulpit, stop the vomit. As it comment out with comments, push a plosive, push a period. Please don't stop it. Month is closes them. The bleeding from the planet. I'm not green. I just have it. I love green. I'm a cabbage. Touch my screen. Get my mean. I got baggage. You won't carry. You can't hand it. Road less traveled. Give me vantage. I know scrolls. Sons who tack me.
And that dissonance and that perception of that duality and understanding it and making conscious choices, there's a maturity there. And it also allows us to approach things that may sound like they're sacred, like folklores, yeah, with an understanding their complexities. Because I remember you once said that folklore isn't always pure. It can be manipulated, it could be weaponized, it could be mythologized.
Definitely.
So for you, how do you hold that tension, both as an artist that's drawing from those ancient and modern myths, and how do you find that discernment working for you when you're naturally merging them through you?
It's very hard to still dial into the modern folkloric narrative. I think it's going to be even harder in times of AI and the smearing of what is true, because folklore has to be ingrained with truth. If the truth had been bent to such a degree, I'm worried for modern folkloric anecdotes or tales. I do feel that we have to look further back. Literally, books are going to become sacred because you can't just control or delete in a book.
One of the questions when you described how it's really difficult to present challenging material or people not willing to be challenged anymore is actually that they're just not willing to receive a lesson, maybe.
That's true.
The journey has been, or how disappointing, or how successful, there's always a lesson. But you have to want it in a way. Maybe that's one of the things with the AI or with this shift in what humans are because of new text.
I had this slightly colder thought. The more I go forward making records, I'm like, how much of myself do I want to keep putting in records? And I don't mean AI. I mean personal thoughts. Because there's the entertainment business, and then there's digging deep, when you dig deep and put it into your work. And as an analogy, it's fast food. What's the point? If somebody's going to talk about trauma that they went through, and they put it in a nice track, and put it there, and somebody just skips through, like, oh, shit, that happened to you? It's like, after a couple of times, I feel that artists, we were going to start to feel that, do I need to bleed on my art when it doesn't change the value of it? It doesn't change how some people want to consume it. And that's what's sort of worrying me now. We're getting to this phase where we can pump out art. If we're more reserved about the human we put in it, whatever device is making it, whether it's a typewriter, AI, whatever, if I don't want you to know me, then you're not gonna get the art that got me to be here. So that's kind of worrying me more than, is AI going to take my job? It's like, do I still want to talk to human beings at this level? If it's usually bots out there as well.
But then there's the one person who needs that. The one person to whom that goes straight in. So you and they're like, your song saved my life. You might be like,
damn,
wow,
that's so true. That's so true.
The message is, if you resonate, write to the artist,
You're so right there. That is, in fact, bigger than my point. If it resonates, make a human connection. Let us know you're not a bot.
Yeah.
No, you feel me, right? Because I see so many stats, so many pie diagrams, this and that. It's really when we're out more, or how many DMs can you answer? But I know some people have millions of fans. Okay, you can't touch everybody. But I think the actual conversations need to come back. Let us know you're a real person on the other side. I'm showing you each record, I'm real. And you have to know me, because in about 5 years, you're not going to be sure, is it Léke or is it AI Léke? Or is it Leke's old label who still owns his rights and they now can do AI off that? It's going to get proper weird minute. So I think, you need to know who you're letting in your house.
So
Or
we're
through
at
your
the last,
speakers in your house, no?
we're maybe in the last phase of this incarnation of culture.
No, for real, people will have to pick how they want to enjoy culture.
But I think these times also demand of us to ask those questions, to be ourselves. I mean, if technology is our mirror in a way, or if AI is the mirror, it's feeding back our reflections. To be more human, to compel ourselves to be more human, we need to expose our curiosity. And that's a distinction, right? In this world that's constantly demanding this, feed me the constant production, I believe that our curiosity, our discernment, following our nose is such an integral part of it because it also exposes our vulnerability, right? When you're really curious, it's exposing something that's very integral about who you are.
Yeah, curiosity, definitely a must. Definitely.
Your albums move like chapters in a large story, Léke, How do you see that evolution? Is there a
The
thread there? Is it a
the
continuum
albums,
of lore?
the albums,
Yes.
I did know how I wanted to do a trilogy. So it was going to be how we all are, who I am, what it can be. We're at the what it can be stage now. And I think it's lined up perfectly with where Lagos and Nigeria is with electronic music right now. I'm excited about some of the other bands who are doing interesting production, and people are also filling out the space in the electronic scene so that there's more on offer. For the albums, I wanted to be able to show different sides of myself at different points because I didn't want to be overwhelming.
You once described your third album as containing the lore of the mean child.
For me personally, I was just looking at it objectively that way that you have to be a bit, there's a bit of a bite to the person who manages to cut through. And that's what people have to see. It's not easy. As I said, the law is we're trying to do something that hasn't been done before.
Well, definitely, but also back to that mean child who needs to look after themselves, to take care of the community. That also offers a pathway and a roadmap to younger Nigerians and that next generation. In a sense, I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about that because you're there now with all these experiences, with this house building that you're doing, right? With this new soundscapes that you're building, with these new folklores of your own and others that are coming through you. Can you tell us about this next generation that you're seeing in Nigeria that is also doing that? They're remixing tradition with anime, with street culture, with digital art. In a way, there's a permission that you've provided to many of those young people. I'd like to hear a bit more about what you're seeing there and how is that inspiring you as well, so that circle continues.
2015, I was in Ibiza at the International Music Summit. I was doing keynote address, and it was called Africa is the Gateway for Dance Music. 2015. This is 2025 now. When I was doing that 2015, I think like Black Coffee was in the crowd, a couple of South African heads. It's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. IMS is where you would go to present ideas about where dance music is going. Really grateful to the platform they gave us. Looking back then, maybe not everybody in the room believed what I was saying. Gateway, kids are coming. Trust me, the next Justin Bieber is going to go crazy. That confidence in placing that bet publicly, do you know what I mean? And literally 10 years being able to come back to me to answer your question, what is happening in the rave and electronic scene in Nigeria right now? It has the biggest ticket draw. So you get 2,000 kids in a venue, safe, no problems, paying, having a good time to music. A lot of them might not have heard before, but there's an energy about it. And it's a lot of kids through doors. The price is still $5 to get through the doors. But I don't think there are many other events that are attracting that kind of energy. And that's not just the money, it's the demographic of designers, fashion designers, young filmmakers, wannabe DJs, producers. It's the creative industries that have been drawn to this thing because it is a leveling field. Dance music is a great leveler, even more so than hip hop, I would say. Hip hop, very opinionated because there's bravado. We're already saying the words will let you know which borough, which district. Whereas with dance music, at times there's no words, less hierarchy, next to none. And that's the beautiful place. But we've gone in here, and Nigeria is the place where there is a big divide between rich and poor. It's not a country where there are after school classes for kids to learn about synthesis or hang out and this and that. No. So if you're coming for this, I don't know where you found out about this, yeah? because it's not just everywhere. That means you really are coming for this. That means this thing is really speaking to you. And to an even greater depth, the drum and bass kids who come out, so they're even the more niche ones. Then you have the psytrance kids. And I'm like, it's getting super niche, but I love it because it means you're finding what is for you. It's not a generic schmear all over. So there's an amazing curiosity in the kids here. They're trans kids, young people, new ravens, early adopters, all ages. Let me know, whoever's just coming into the scene. And to look at it from back 10 years ago when handful of raves. Right now, international DJs coming in. We have at AD, Amsterdam Dance Effect, I think we're from Nigeria, we have about 8 DJs playing. 3 years ago, we didn't have any representation. We have a high percentage of youth in this country. And we now have a vehicle for them, music that sits right beside technology, AI, fashion, creativity. It's a pipeline to even greater wealth via the orange industries. You know, all of us before we were rushing to try and get into oil and gas. Audio, I think my law, to be honest, is that I learned from what's it called, apprenticeship first before structured education. I believe you sit somebody beside you in the studio and you put their hands on it, you teach a man to fish. You know what I mean? That's how I look at audio. It's the easiest way to teach somebody to fish. You got ears, you got hands, you're good. This is really going to change the freedom of people creatively and financially as well. Afrobeats has already led the way where we're very much on the billboard. We are already a force to contend with in the international music market. So this isn't like a little vibes that's being sprung up in some niche little country, someplace where Vice TV can come film us for a weekend. No. You know, we're sat right beside. They just need to pipeline the energy into that. And I'm excited about it. Really am. I can't wait to go back to Ibiza and tell them, told you so.
Bravo. So I have one last question to close our podcast. If folklore is a drum beat, and using that because the drums are so quintessentially essential in your work. So if folklore is a drum beat that travels through time, what rhythm do you hope you're adding to it?
But you see, you got me thinking geeky because soon you said rhythm. I was thinking, what timing would I be in? That's a good question. What timing would I be on? Well, 6/8 timing. Anything that's 4/6/8. Yeah, I've said that so many times. Anything that you could have done 4/4, but you threw in a couple more beats. That's my timing. Like it was just about enough, but then you put in, polyrhythmic. Like what timing am I? I'm polyrhythm. Definitely so. I am polyrhythm. The interesting project I'm doing right now made me really grateful for how amazing being a musician or creative. There's a book of poetry that I started writing, left it for ages, came back to it 2024, 25, and we're just turning it into a comic strip, an anime strip, and a soundtrack as well. But the amazing thing is collaborating with my 20-something-year-old self, because some of the recordings are from then. I'm now working on it and adding more to the recordings. Working with your younger self is, I think, one of the most interesting things I've done recently in music. Listening to where that person was going through, not just their sessions. When I say they, it's me at a younger age, but it's weirdly time machine-y like. So that's what's really got me thinking, because you just mentioned what point in time rhythmically. I was like, oh, wow, I'm actually doing a time machine project right now as well. That's something pretty special as well.
And that is a beautiful place to end, because I hear that as listening to our own wisdoms.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed listening to the other episodes of the show that you shared with me. Look forward to listening to this one as well. Thank you for having me, everybody.
Thank you to Léke from Ekiti Sounds.
Urban get it and the one I like I feel like I've lived like 1,000 lives. I miss connecting times to catch 1,000 flights. Grounded by the weather, fair weather friends. Twist, bevel, like a church steeple. They're high and pious. They don't speak, they only preach you, try and crucify us. I swear, I've been propped up between this math and guess that. This man and get that. No honor between thieves, so grab the swag bag, quit fast. Not gram that, stepped on and flip pack. Slept on, I woke fast.
Since we recorded the session, I've had the privilege of traveling to Lagos for the first time. to attend what was a fantastic festival, the Ake Arts and Book Festival, and of course, to catch up in person with Léke, aka Ekiti Sound. I felt and experienced the energy of one of the world's fastest growing cities. Music is everywhere here. It's palpable. It's in the way the city moves and the way it pulses. I also saw firsthand the reaction people had both to Léke and to his music. It was visceral. It was joyful. If the show has inspired you, I urge you to explore the music of Ekiti Sound and that of Nigeria. Take it from me. You won't be disappointed.